just be creative. You can find an alternative way of accomplishing the same objective just by doing something a little bit different. But make sure that you don't fundamentally alter the way you teach the course. When the student walk out of your course for the semester, they still need to master the same skills as anybody else in the class. Someone had a question? Yes.
What is the typical caseload that you have for these coaches you mentioned?
Right now, right now I have about 100 students active just in the Clarkston campus.
Sure. And then the amount of time that typically that these students are allowed during these sessions with this coach? So are they allowed 15 minutes per session a week?
It depends on, we refer the student to a coach, and then they agree on how much time to spend. Typically 1 hour per section, twice a week. So sometimes it could be 1 or 2 hours, sometimes even 3 per week.
Depending on the
I just want to clarify. Was your question how many students are being served at the Clarkston campus?
No.
Or how many are being
For
served
these
in Clarkston?
coaches. So like a coach may have
Gotcha.
10, thank you, Doc, may have 10 students he is assigned. And,
Gotcha.
you know,
So I thought you were asking about my caseload as a coordinator. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
My
For
caseload
these
is
coaches that you have.
gotcha. They have about 2 to 3 students. Like the coach that is currently doing that at the Clarkston campus, she has 3 students working with them right now. Where they meet Wednesdays, different times.
And there's
So
option for group or one-on-one.
it's one-on-one.
Mhm.
Yes, it's proven to work best if they do it one-on-one. Yes.
Sure.
So yeah, about 3 or 4.
Good.
Yes.
Well, then, would he be giving an academic coach, or you don't have that?
I'll let the coordinator answer the question.
At the present time, coaching by the coordinator is a volunteer process. Personally, I don't have time to coach. So any of my staff members to coach can choose to, but that's going to be their choice. I'm not going to require them to do that. But there are coaches that are downtown that we hire GAs for, and coaching does not have to be done face to face. They could do it by Skype, they could do it by phone. So if we have a student, we do refer them to coaching. It's just a matter if they follow through. And that it won't be necessarily the GA coming to our campus to do it. They may do it by phone or by Skype or whatever they decide to do.
Yeah, the reason we have it at Clarkston is because I have this person that was working under me that was extremely anxious to work as a coach. So that's her passion. I said, hey, great, so we can do that here and kind of like take a little bit of the load away from the main campus. So.
And the advantage that Dr. Anderson does have on this campus, if those students who do have accommodations are trio student support services, we do have one person on staff who is open to working with those students. So we serve 140, and so we have one who is able and prepared to work
Excellent.
with those students. If Dr. Anderson, we know that they are registered with this.
Excellent. Well, another resource. Excellent. Thank
So
you.
until he gets more volunteers.
Great. And that's
we do
trio.
have,
That trio
but
office.
they have to be in the program.
Gotcha. Okay.
Did I understand that correctly? That
Yeah.
the coaches at state are paid and the coaches at perimeter are volunteer?
The coaches at Georgia State are GA students.
So they
So
get
that's
the
their
stipend.
part. It's part of their graduate assistantship. Yeah.
Yeah, the one at Clarkston is a staff member. He's a part-time staff member that does the
And
coaching.
she volunteers coaching as part of her job. She's not required to do it,
Right.
Right.
but she wants to do it.
And so it becomes part of her job, though, it's not extra hours on top
Right.
that she does. Okay.
I'm not gonna bother you with the process, but I'm just gonna say, students come to our office. They come with some paperwork showing a diagnosis. The diagnosis comes from a doctor or a psychologist, depending on the nature of their disability. Then it goes through an extensive review by the coordinator at the campus, and then the student is called, and we ask them to come to our office, and we have a one-on-one meeting. We call it a welcome meeting, and then we talk about our accommodations, what their needs are, and all that. So that's the entire process. Bottom line, they walk out of our office with a letter, and that's the letter that you will see in your classroom. It's called Students Accommodation Letter. And we ask you to sign that letter, and students are supposed to bring that letter back to us. Something new that we're implementing this semester is that now we're giving the student the opportunity or the possibility to get those letters in electronic format, so that they can either send the letters to their instructor via email, or we can send those letters to you by email as well. You just check that you received the letter, and you don't even have to sign. When you receive our email, you confirm that you received it, or you reply back. And when you reply, it says professor or instructor received the letter, and that will substitute the signature part. All right, so the general take-homes is, again, the way I remember, kind of like their challenges. Students on the spectrum, they have difficulties dealing with or with communication skills. So the acronym I use is CSR. C for communication skills, S for social interaction, and then R for repetitive behavior. Let's remember that they do have a wide range of cognitive abilities. Sometimes they do have also ADHD or learning disabilities. Many of those who are higher functioning, the one that we mentioned that they were called before Asperger's, they tend to succeed and have a very, very exceptional talents and skills. You saw yourself this Temple Brighton, she's a professor at this moment. And so another takeout is that the university has a moral and legal obligation to provide accommodations for students with disability, especially, and also students on the spectrum. Students with autism and all students with disability, they still need to meet the already established academic objective of the course. They still need to abide by the student's code of conduct. And also, our goal is not only to help them by providing accommodations, but also to own their education and empower them, and so that they can become their own advocates also. That's also part of our goals. So when you receive a letter from us, and when we are giving you a list of accommodations for a student, don't think in terms of giving the student with disability at any advantage, because that doesn't mean we are giving them any advantage. We're doing that because we're trying to level the playing field. We are providing access. A good example that I have, and I'll finish with that, but a good example I always mention is a student with dyslexia. One accommodation for a student with dyslexia is to be able to type their essays or written assignments using a word processor. Because how many of you are familiar with dyslexia? So they don't, sometimes they can't read. Words are read in a different, from left to right, right to left. So the student will fail. The student with dyslexia will fail if you ask the student to write an essay, handwritten. So that's why they need to use a word processor, a computer, so they can type their paper. Because we are trying to evaluate the student based on their abilities, not their disability. If you were going to grade or evaluate the student based on their disability, then the student will fail, and then they can be here. Okay? Last questions? Any last question? All right, I'll stick around. We're going to be around here, so if you want, you can ask us whatever you want.